Is it possible to be infested with an Irish monster? Well, Dagdi Agus Polcha. Hi, hello, and welcome. Jon O'Sullivan from the Irish Pagan School. And I have been exploring some of our older myths, looking for the monstrous, looking for the weird and wonderful. And there is one that is quite disturbing, actually, and it's known as the Alp Luachra. So that's ALP and then a separate word, Luchra. So an Alpluachra is something that is said to, well, actually, I suppose neat answer, not hard to say. Yes, it is actually impossible to end up with a monstrous creature inside you, according to Irish myth and folklore. So the Alpluachra was said to be something that would climb inside someone while they slept, either by a river or in freshly cut hay. If they were out and about and they spent too long being idle in some way, shape, or form, they could end up with an Alpluachra inside them. So the story goes that there was a very wealthy farmer and this wealthy farmer was out during harvest season, and he was watching all of his hands, like like bringing in the hay, cutting and scything and bundling. And he decided it's a lovely day. I'm going to have a lie down on some of this freshly cut grass. The next morning, when he woke up, he was feeling very ill, and his wife and his daughter were like, "You don't look well." They called for a doctor, and the doctor was like, "There's nothing wrong with you." And he's like, "No, it feels like there's something jumping up and down inside my stomach." And the doctor's listening and checking, and there's no sign of it. And the doctor's beginning to think that the guy's losing his mind. But all the while, every day, this wealthy farmer is waking up, and every morning he's lost weight. And then he's really hungry all of the time, and he starts to ask for bigger and bigger meals from his wife. And he's feasting and eating, but he cannot gain any weight. His body keeps shedding and shedding and shedding weight until eventually he is diminished, he is sickened, and the doctors have no answer for him. And so he is outside, like preparing himself, sitting weekly outside his home, preparing for what is this death. And all of the while, there's something inside him. He knows there's something inside him to fight the fact that we couldn't prove anything. And it says that a poor man or a beggar man comes past looking for alms from him, and the guy can't feed, like, no matter how much the guy himself eats, he can't be full. But he says, I won't see you go hungry. And so he makes sure he gives the poor guy some food. At which point the poor guy asks what's wrong with him, why he's so sick. And the man says, I have something, I feel like there's something, the doctors can't say what it is, but there's something inside me, and I'm always hungry and I can't, I'm losing weight all the time. And this old man, this wise old, like, poor person, it says in the story, looks at him and goes, "Oh, you have an Alpluachra." And this wealthy farmer's like, "A what?" And he goes, "You have an Alpluachra, but you need to go to the Prince of Coolveen for a cure." And so the first time in ages, this man has hope. And so he goes and he travels and he journeys all the while weekend to meet the Prince of Clúveen. And when he meets him, the prince diagnoses an Alpluachra and he says, "Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to make a feast for you. And this feast will be salted beef." And so they sit the guy down and he's told to eat salted beef. There's nothing else he's allowed. And as he's eating the salted beef, he's getting thirstier. But every time he asks for a drink, the prince is like, "No, eat more salted beef." And so this entire feast goes on, and the guy is eating more and more and more. And there's like, because again, this wealthy prince is able to just keep more and more salted beef brought in. And so eventually the guy is really parched, thirsty, and he's like, "Can I please have something to drink, even water, anything at all?" And the prince is like, "No, but now is the time." And so they take him out to a nearby stream, and the prince tells him to lie down on his stomach and open his mouth as wide as he can, but do not move. And so the man lies down on his stomach with his mouth faced towards the stream and opens it as wide as he can. And then the prince holds him, like, physically holds him. And then the man feels something stir inside him, feels something begin to writhe and claw its way up out of his throat. At which point the prince says, "There's one, there's two, there's three, there's a dozen." A dozen Alpluachar come out of his mouth, each of them absolutely dying with thirst, coming to get a drink of water. And then with a final vast shudder, the wealthy farmer feels something massive climb out of his throat, and the mother of the Alpluachra climbs its way out and drops into the stream. So it's a bit of a terrifying, terrifying story, to be honest. But this is the cure. This is the cure for an Alpluachra. If you have something inside your stomach, you eat a whole load of salted beef, and then you wait by a stream and it'll come out for the thirst that's on it. Now, as gross as that may seem, we have heard and now know from science and medical circumstances that there are such creatures as tapeworms. So, is this mythology some ancient record or ancient knowledge about people who had this condition in the past? What is also very fascinating about it is even down into the 1800s and the 1900s, the early 1900s, we can find references to people who knew about Alp Luachra and knew the cure of them. Because in the National Folklore Collection, the schools collection on duchas.ie, if you search for the term Alp Luachra, you'll find a number of stories off Scoilge in Irish, but you will also find translations of those stories which talk about the tale I have just told you. But also, interestingly, there's other mentions of creatures that are said to be Alp Luachra. And Alp Luachra, when the farmers believed to have been infested with this creature, in some mythology, it's said to be an otherworld monster, an otherworld creature that looks like a newt, a small kind of lizard. And that's why it's called an Alp Luachra. But this horrific version is the one that infests people and sickens them while it consumes the goodness out of whatever food they eat. So no matter how much food you're eating, the Alplucher is actually consuming the energy of it or the quintessence out of it as it's referred to, and the goodness out of the food. So there is other references though to people who have a cure. Now, in the ancient Irish tradition, there is lineages and bloodlines that do talk about, and even in modern and more like recent folklore, there are people, bloodlines, seventh son of a seventh son. There's a number of different ways that mention someone who was born with or inherits a cure. Now, a cure is some solution or has the knowledge or has some ability to heal a certain type of injury. And so in the schools collection, there's a record of a collector Moira ní Angasa from Lemena in County Offaly. And here's the story from her father, Peter, who says that if a person were to lick an alpluchera and then lick the burn, he will cure it. And so it goes a little bit further, though. It says Larry Rutledge in Lemena in Ballycumber in Offaly has the cure for burns. So as we go through this information of these monstrous entities or these other kind of creatures, it's not that it is horrible, weird circumstances. It is horrible and weird, to be honest, but there are also other references that we can see in more modern folklore that talk about the benefits of interacting, should you know how to do it. Much like the Prince of Clouveen, in this case, we have Larry Rutledge, who also in County Offaly is said to have had the cure for burns based on licking an alplucher and then licking the burn. So, it's a weird one. As I said, there's a whole load of very entertaining, very weird, very wonderful, very odd stories that we have in Irish folklore about these monstrous creatures, and that's what I'm currently exploring at the moment. So, if you'd like to know more about Irish culture, Irish spirituality, Irish pagan, Irish history, we have a lot of it at the Irish Pagan School, or you can pick up something for free at irishpagan.school/free and explore more of the resources we have available for you. Until next time, look after yourself, take care, agus slán. Goodbye.